And we're back, and you are listening to Villain Cast, BJJ Antiheroes with myself, Chris the Villain Paynes. Weekly podcasts featuring either my fellow black belt Naki Arshed on our show Reap the Week, or compelling interviews with other personalities across Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. But first, a quick thank you to our members at In Theory BJJ, Concept-Driven Jiu-Jitsu, for fight commentary, technique and concept videos, private coaching, monthly webinars and Q&A sessions. Please visit www.patreon.com/InTheoryBJJ. You didn't bob your head as much. Well, I didn't know.
I'm so sorry.
Did you stage fright?
I was like mini bobbing. Oh no, your camera switched off. Why's your camera gone? Oh, there you are.
My camera's got. Oh, there I am.
It's all right. You're back.
Oh, don't jinx these things. Please don't jinx these things.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
So this is our second attempt. Helen Harper, welcome back. Although to everyone else, this is our first chance, so it's going to feel kind of silly saying everything again.
Yeah.
But yes, we did it was a brilliant podcast. It went for like an hour and a bit or something like that, and I was like, I'm so happy about how that one went. Then I came to do the editing, and it only saved 11 minutes of it. I was like, oh my god. So. Thank you for agreeing to come back on. You were very lovely last time, and you'll be even more lovely this time. If you'd like to introduce yourself, you are Helen Harper, BJJ brown belt, and MMA fighter. And the rest you can go for.
I feel like you did just introduce the highlights again.
Sorry, spoilers.
A spoiler. I haven't got better at introducing myself in the last 2 weeks since we last spoke. So that is very much me. BJJ brown belt and former MMA fighter. There we go. Former MMA fighter. I do not fight MMA anymore. I realised that getting punched in the head has a time limit on it, and I felt like my time was quite done. Yeah.
A lot of like folks that come into the gym said, "Oh, I'll do MMA." I'm like, don't. Like, it's fun. I'm sure it is. But yeah, it's like. You have fun in the present and you rob from the future. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I think that's it. And also it's like a bit of, right, have you tried therapy? Because that might be more suited to you.
Well, actually, yeah.
I mean?
So no one knows about your we're going to go into your history of these things. But that's essentially like, maybe someone should have just said that. Like, instead of like, you going to Thailand to get punched in the head. Like, do you want to talk about therapy? Like, there's other ways of doing this. So we'll start from the beginning. So when I won't even spoil it because I know half the story now. When did you start your martial arts journey and why?
Oh, this fun story. Yeah. So
sorry. We can just clip it together. The last one.
It's fine. It's like, as you say every single week. It's like therapy. You're not wrong. It is like therapy. Talking like this. So basically I was in an abusive relationship. I was told by someone that I was pretty close to that I should basically learn how to defend myself, and being stubborn and pig-headed went, nah, be fine. What are we talking about? Be absolutely fine. And then it got really bad, and then it turned out that learning how to defend myself wasn't baddest, that's not even a word, wasn't the worst idea. I'll be honest with you, I've had 2 coffees and no food today, and I am buzzing off my tits, so some of the things that come out of my mouth probably won't be words.
Don't worry, I'm about 3 deep, and I was like, I can't have another one now because this is going to be an amazing podcast if that happened.
It's going to be an epic 12 podcast. O'clock.
Yeah.
Oh. We got slowly.
It's going to kick
Between
in.
us, we've on 5 coffees. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And the last one I had was like crack as well.
Right. Okay, that kind of coffee.
It's strong. Yeah, like, do you know when you drink the coffee and are like, oh, my heart rate just changed. Okay, cool, good. Yeah, it's one of them.
Oh, good. I'm excited.
So basically, I got this is on my birthday. I got a message from my cousin who, it's like one of those ones where you hear from them once or twice a year, or whatever. Like, oh, happy birthday, happy Christmas kind of thing. Anyway, he's like, happy birthday. Are you all right? How's it going? And I was like, oh, mate, to be honest, I want to die. And he was like, well, like, come for a weekend. So he lived in Sheffield. He's like, come for a weekend. And I was like, mate, if I come for the weekend, I'm not gonna leave. Like, that's it. I'm just done. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. And he was like, I've got a spare room, come and rent it. So I literally moved up like a few weeks later, ran away obviously from the relationship, and my entire life, ran away to Sheffield, and rented my cousin's spare room. I moved on the 31st of May, and the 1st of June, I went to a jiu-jitsu and everything gym, and was like, right, I'm going to do all the classes. And they were like, no one does all the classes. And I was like, I'm going to do all the classes. And they looked at me like I was mental, and I was like, you ain't seen nothing yet. Anyway, so I did all the classes every day, Monday to Thursday. I didn't do Fridays. And actually, that's the reason I left there, was because they didn't do Fridays. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, so I just literally did every single class I could do, and just sort of like, it's that typical breakup thing of like, I must distract myself. So I did, and that's that's how I started basically.
Right, I see.
Yeah, focus.
It's like, when you ask a lot of people, like, why you got into martial arts, it's amazing how many times that one comes around is breakups. And when you're stuck in that that sudden period of loss, and you just like, you start to really climb inside your own head, like getting hit in the head really helps.
It's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. So you end up in Sheffield.
Like it's like a numb. Do you know when you're like, your heart's a bit numb from everything, like the trauma it's been through, and then getting punched in the head like helps you feel things again.
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds really fucking up, to be honest. Like, now I'd say it out loud, I'm like, oh no, that's pretty messed up. But yeah, that's very much how I felt, and still feel, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. Getting hit in the head does help sometimes, or slammed on your head. That, if you don't like being hit in the head. So I mean, I was this is going to be, obviously when this comes out, it's going to be alongside the PJ Lucy podcast, and we were talking about how, because he didn't know, because obviously we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I said that you went from started in 2010, and you're already on the Ultimate Fighter like 5 years later, and he was like, oh yeah, that girl's got drive. I was like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, it was like, I actually started in 2011.
Oh right, even later.
June the 1st, 2011, and I was on the Ultimate Fighter 2020? No, 2016.
Yes.
So yeah, exactly 5 years. In fact, less than about 4.5 years after I started training, I was on the Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's mad.
That is bonkers. It is bonkers, and we were like, that is so ridiculously driven. Like, some people just about get their blue belts in that time. You're like, nope, I'm going to go to the very top. Bye. Which is okay.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
I know. So we're in Sheffield. We're doing jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Where did you go next?
And everything else. Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, kickboxing, MMA, and Kali, stick fighting. I did all of them.
How did you find time for all this?
Well, I didn't really have a life.
Okay, that'll help.
Yeah, so basically, I went to work in the morning. So I was working in the only office job I didn't get fired from in my whole life. Yep, impressed. So I was working in this place called Omnia Offices, and then I worked for Omnia Estates. So it's basically working in a maintenance department, which was really fun because I just got to talk to contractors all day, and they were all just great. Like, they were all just a great laugh, So I actually really enjoyed it. So I worked there, and then literally that was at the top of the hill, and at the bottom of the hill was a gym. And so I used to start at like 8:30, whatever, work till 5, and then drive down to the bottom. The hill was quite long, by the way. I had to drive. Well, I didn't have to, but it's easier at the other end, So I drive down the hill, park in their car park, and be at the gym all evening and finish at 9 and then go home, sleep, eat first probably, sleep, wake up, do the same the next day. Done. That was pretty much it really. So yeah, I feel like I did that beginner white belt thing of like putting 100% in, like the white belt enthusiasm of like, yeah, I'm gonna do this for every waking hour I have. Yeah, that's pretty much what I did.
Especially in those days, like I remember, again, it was in the PJ podcast, we were talking about how, like in those days, even competitions, you wouldn't really sign up. You just show up on the day and just write your name down, like in your weight division. And I remember those days where there were no women's divisions, and women really weren't in the BJJ MMA scene. I remember a competition. I think Vanessa English, she was in the men's division, like whooping ass.
Yeah, legend.
And so,
yeah,
how did you find those days, especially being so involved in it?
Well, I think it's actually, I know it sounds mad, but it was actually easier because also like no pressure, because it's like, well, I'm going against guys. So, and I think we touched on this in the last podcast. It's like, that no one heard, but, we did, we were there.
Yeah, we did. I heard it.
But like guy against a girl, the guy can't win, because if a guy beats up a girl, it's like, well, what do you expect? Of course that's going to happen. And if a guy gets beaten by a girl, then it's like, you just got your ass whooped by a girl. So like, whichever way around it is, a guy cannot win, but a girl can win both, but it's win-win for a girl. So it's like, if you get beaten, you're like, oh, well, it was a guy, like, don't worry about it, And if you beat the guy, it's like, oh, that's fucking amazing. Like, holy shit, So like, whenever I there was many, maybe five comps I did. That's many, right? More than 3 is many. I don't know.
Yeah.
5 comps I did where I was against guys. I think I won 4 of them.
Oh damn.
So it's not bad. It's like,
no,
could be worse. Or yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, it could be worse. But I definitely went against some guys that I would fully shit myself against now, if that makes sense. Whereas then I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And like, you just go, oh well, be fine.
It's again one of those things that I hear, quite a lot, is this whole. I think the mantra that a smaller person can beat a bigger person is a marketing strategy, especially in jiu-jitsu. Strength pays an awful lot. Like if you find the right access, you can. Like everyone's got a neck and it doesn't take that much pressure. But trying to beat strength and power, like, sorry, doesn't work that way all the time.
I would say that yes. Okay, so here's the way I look at it: is if you've got 2 blue belts, I say purple belt, right? 2 purple belts, 1 male, 1 female, both 70 kilos. It's gonna very much come down to like stylistically, right?
Yeah.
What happened? If you've got a black belt female that's 50 kilos and a white belt male that's 90 kilos, I would put money on the girl, because they know the technique enough to be able to work around the weight.
Yeah.
So,
but it's
I do like, it does come into it, but it does depend on like there's a lot of other things. So like when I was a blue belt fight, the last matches I did against guys were when I was blue belt, and there's one where I weighed in at 55 kilos and the guy I was fighting weighed at like 96 or something, and I did manage to armbar him from mount.
Yeah.
I don't know how, by the way. I think I just do what I still do now and just hold on for dear life, because it was in a gi. I wouldn't be able to do that in no gi, you see, because you can't hold on to. But all I did was literally clambered onto mount. I remember it still now. This was bloody years ago. I clambered onto mount, basically like by just wiggling, essentially. Probably very little technique going on. wiggled into mount, and just held on for dear life to this arm and just kept going until it was straight. Essentially. So I'm not insane. Like, I would say there's probably, I don't remember the technique involved, as in my head it was great, but it probably wasn't, because it was quite a while ago, and I don't even think I'm great now. So if it was back then, it was definitely not great. But I'm very stubborn. So
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, well, if there's an arm there to be got, I'll get it.
Although I do remember our train ride from Munich airport to the city centre, and you did tell me then, the first time we ever met, how good your arm bars are.
Yeah, and then I tried to armbar you and failed multiple times, and you just swore at me every single time.
I loved it. I was like, the first time I ever met him, like just talking jiu-jitsu, and you were saying like, your kind of signature moves, the armbar, and I'm like,
I've got a solid armbar, and you're like, yeah, we'll see about that.
No, I was like, I can't wait.
Unfortunately, we did see about that, and unfortunately, I lost multiple times.
You look so stressed.
It was a stressful situation, because I was like, well, I'm doing everything right. What the fuck is going on? And he's not even escaping. He's just swearing at me and laughing at me. Yeah.
I wasn't even holding on to you had my arm. My arm was fully locked out, and I was just there, my middle finger up at you as you're trying.
Yeah, it's not a happy time for me. And the fact that everyone was just watching and laughing as well, it's just made it even worse. I was like, well, I feel like my jiu-jitsu could have got worse.
It's first impressions. First impressions count for a lot, and I didn't set a good one at that point.
I mean, no, but also what I did appreciate was you telling me my mistakes, as in, like, I didn't have enough control of your shoulder. But also what I do think is that I was talking about the previous armbar, I was a blue belt against a blue belt. I don't know how long he'd been a blue belt, but even though he was a lot bigger than me, he probably didn't have a dissimilar technical knowledge to me, which was, definitely worked in my favor at that point. It wouldn't now. If I was against another brown belt now, there's not a chance I'd be able to armbar them. But as a blue belt, I feel like I also feel like as a blue belt, the breadth of blue belt is so much bigger than in any other belt. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you go any random blue belt, they could be so good or so bad. Does that sound bad? Does that sound dickish? I don't know.
Not really. Like, one of the ways I used to explain it was that when you get your blue belt, you're a good white belt. You just pass the white belt stage. But then you can have good blue belts who've got sharp knives who can tap a black belt if they find their stuff. Like, because purple belt to black belt can be very slight in technical ability. And you think, so a high blue belt, I've said it for years, it's the biggest jump. You're going from, I'm just a good white to, when the moon moves into Aquarius and the tide is out, I can maybe catch a good armbar. So it's a huge belt. Yeah,
that's it. So I don't know. I don't even remember, to be honest. I think a lot of it's a blur. To be honest, a lot of life is a blur. But I don't really remember
where. So it's to the head.
It probably is. I don't remember where in my blue belt journey I was when I was competing against the guys. As in, like, it was somewhere. That's not very helpful. There was a couple of white belt tournaments that I did against guys as well. One was in Thailand. I don't know. Don't remember the details, if I'm totally honest. Again.
So when did you end up in? Yeah. Weirdly enough, like I haven't really. I did Muay Thai. How long ago? How old am I? Where am I? I did Muay. Yeah, almost 37. I'm getting old. I did Muay Thai
Same.
I'm trying, but my brain's fried. I did Muay Thai for 6 years, about 15 years ago. So I haven't really done any striking. So we were just talking. We just had a bit of a technical issue. We should be able to edit that out. So I did a Muay Thai, got hit in the head multiple times. So I can't think it's really affected me that much. But all these years of jiu-jitsu and getting my head slammed into the floor, I'm finding I'm getting a bit more fuzzy these days. I thought I was just getting old. But I get confused a lot more.
I do think it makes a big difference. like the headshots. Yeah, same, to be honest. Like, I've really noticed it in the last year or so.
Yeah.
Like, just general, like, cognitive issues, I guess.
Well, I mean, they talk about CTE a lot in American football and boxing and MMA. But I mean, I used to be a firefighter for many years, and we used to have to deal with car accidents. And one of the things they used to talk about was the 3 impacts. So the first impact was the car hitting whatever it's hitting. The second impact would be your organs, you hitting the car on the inside, and then the third impact would be your organs hitting the front of your skeleton, essentially. And that's what would cause a lot of the injuries. So you could have, we had injuries where the crash didn't really look like much, but people could have torn their aortas, for example. I think that's, as much as we understand that getting hit in the head and the kind of automatic trauma that kind of comes with impacts in jiu-jitsu, getting like having your brain accelerate from getting taken down and slammed into the floor, like that's no different to getting punched. And especially we don't know much about chokes, so it does start to concern me a little bit that I may have robbed from my future a tiny amount, because I am having confusion moments and like just a bit of cognitive impairment. So maybe that's a conversation for another day. Maybe we have to keep coming back every year and seeing how well we do on this podcast. It just keeps getting worse.
It's all right, we'll bring the Zimmer frames next year. I don't know how much you know about it, but I believe that coconut oil is the way forward. So I'm not going to go into it all now, because we'll literally be here forever, and we will actually have to have Zimmer frames then. But if there is anyone that's particularly concerned about their cognitive behaviours, then perhaps have a little look about coconut oil and how that might change the future for you. That's all I'll say.
I may have had to start that about 15 years ago.
I mean, there's no, like, it's one of those things that it's not too late. Like, even if you've got full-blown dementia, you can still slow it down.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think you're quite at that point yet. Maybe like a little bit before that.
We'll see. I've listened to myself teach seminars, and I'm like, oh, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So talking about headshots and trauma, you were learning in Sheffield. You leave Sheffield, and just spoilers, you went to Thailand. What was that transition?
Yeah. So basically, I went on holiday again. My cousin, who I love him, like, he's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was my absolute hero, my absolute savior. And I fully credit him with saving my life, by the way. Like, he's like, not to get deep, but he proper saved me. So he basically was like, right, what are you doing next year? And I was like joking around, like I'd seen it in this magazine, like I think I mentioned it last time we were talking. So it was there like martial arts magazine? I can't remember which.
There was Fighters Only. That was a big one back in those days.
It might have been Fighters Only or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Jiu-Jitsu magazine.
And there was a spread about like martial arts holidays or something like that. Or like the best martial arts holidays in the world, or like across the world. I can't remember what it was, but it was something like that. Bear in mind, this is like be about 2012 by this point.
I think the big ones back then were
I think I've been
Fighters Only and Train Hard, Fight Easy. I think were the two big ones. And then you had Jiu-Jitsu magazine.
Oh, yes. It was definitely one of them. But
doesn't that bring back memories?
That brings back memories.
Airports and those magazines.
Oh my god! Every single time you could spot all the fighters. Oh,
yeah, because they were sitting there with their magazines.
Bring back magazines, damn it. Anyway, so it was one of them, and there was a spread about the best martial arts holidays in the world, and I'd looked at this thing, and it kind of became my like, oh, I'm going to do that one day, you know? And then my cousin was like, it had this thing about Tiger Muay Thai, which was at the time kind of a bit more innovative, you know, like, oh, you can go on a holiday and it can be all about martial arts, and you know, and oh, it's amazing, you get to train Muay Thai with a real Thai person, and blah 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 blah.
Racist.
And well, yeah, that was just pretty much the article. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go there one day, and then my cousin was like, oh, what are you gonna do next year? Like, we were talking like Christmas or something, and he's like, oh, what are you gonna do next year? And I was like, oh, I don't know, go to Thailand. And he was like, yeah, okay, cool. And I was like, oh, nah, like, you know, I'm not really gonna go because, you know, like, it's really far away and it's really expensive. And he was like, yeah, Helen, there's these things called planes. I'm not sure if you're aware of them. And I was like, yeah, go fuck yourself. But yeah, cool. And then he was like, look, you've got a car, sell your car, buy a ticket, go to Thailand. He's like, he'd gone traveling when he was younger, and he was like, look, it was the best thing I ever did. He's like, I owned nothing for so long because all I did was travel, and every time I had any money, I bought a plane ticket and I traveled. And I was like, that actually sounds like a really appealing thing to do. So I just sold my car, bought a ticket to Thailand, went for a month, and I was like, it kind of just opened my eyes to like what life could be. And like, don't get me wrong, I was not unhappy. Like, I wasn't like sorry, my dog's getting involved now. I wasn't he has something to say about Thailand. I wasn't unhappy. I was like, I'd got over the breakup. I was kind of doing well. I was happy. Like, life was good, but it could be better. It could always be better, right? So I was like, oh, well, okay, cool. So I went there, opened my eyes to so much like other stuff, just like possibilities. The possibilities are endless. And I guess like I went there for a month, but that wasn't long enough for me. It was like, oh man, I need to be here longer. And then I went back and I basically like decided, okay, I'm going to move to Thailand, but I just need to work out how, you know? So, right. Okay. What do people do when they when they go to Thailand for like long term? Like, what do people do? Right. They either teach English or they teach diving. Like, I can speak English, but I can't dive. So I guess I'm teaching English. I mean, barely, but passable. So, I did my TEFL exams, when I was out there, and I was like there a month. So I was living in like Phuket town and traveling out to Tiger every night to train.
Yeah.
And, so kind of like, it's like, you know, like normal, what we do, we work all day and then we go train in the night, you know, it's just like that, but in Thailand pretty much. But I was studying in the day, but it was like, you know, learning on the job. You were still teaching. So that was a month. And basically what happened was I did the open-ended flight. So it was like, you can take the flight anytime within the next 3 months or 2 months or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So where did I get to in my story?
We're in Thailand. You are studying the day. And training at night.
Yeah, so I bought an open-ended ticket and I was like, right, I'm gonna basically try and find a job so that I don't have to take this flight home. And if I don't, then I've got my backup plan and I'll leave it till the last possible moment where I can take the flight. Okay? So I was like, right. I went to interview after interview, and when I'd gone, they'd been like, oh, you don't need a degree. And I was like, oh, sweet, I don't have a degree, so that's handy. So then I was going to all these job interviews, and they're like, oh, so what's your degree in? And I'm like, no, I don't have a degree. And I didn't know I had to have a degree. And they're like, oh, yeah, you need a degree for the work permit. And I was like, right, okay. So it was like every single time I'd do like the interview, and they'd be like, yeah, we really like you. What's your degree in? Done.
Yeah.
Out. And then it was like day 8 of interviews. Like I was, oh my God, I literally the most interviews I've ever been to in my life, right? And this guy was like, what's your degree in? And I was like, oh no, here's the question. I was like, oh, I don't have a degree. And he goes, oh, that's okay. What else do you have? And I was like, well, I have a personal training qualification, like a diploma. And he was like, that'll do.
Oh,
and I was
awesome.
like, are you for real? He's like, yeah, you don't need a degree. As long as it says the word diploma on it, it doesn't really matter. And I was like, what? Anyway, so this guy was like, oh, so I have another 2 girls to see, like, tomorrow. And then I'll let you know, like, after that.
Yeah.
Like, if you're successful. And I was like, okay, I kind of need to decide whether to get on this flight or not. So you kind of need to let me know quite soon.
Yeah.
Because, and then he called me the next day and, like, I don't know, he cancelled the other girls. He's like, yeah, you got the job. I was like, oh, sweet. He's like, can you start Monday? It was like a Friday. He's like, can you start Monday? And I was like, fuck yeah, I can. Obviously, I wouldn't swear with the children, but yeah, fuck yeah, I can. And anyway, so this guy took a punt on me, like, thank God. And it was the best job ever. I absolutely loved it. It was just amazing. Honestly, if I could do that again, I would do it in a heartbeat. I loved it. And yeah, it was just teaching all day. Kids were insanely cool. I loved them to pieces. And then training in the evening. And then fighting at weekends. And you know what's better about the kids or the parents in Thailand is you come in on a Monday morning after fighting on Saturday and you've got a black eye and they go, are you okay? And you go, Muay Thai, and they go, okay, cool. And in England, when I came back, I was teaching for a bit and I would come in with a black eye and they'd be like, you can't work here anymore.
Oh, really?
You can't come in with a black eye. And I'd be like, but I get paid for this. Like, I'm a professional fighter. And they'd be like, yeah, you can't do that. Then I lost, like, contracts because I was, like,
really?
Like an SEN teacher. Yeah, it was like, special educational needs, SEN, if anyone doesn't know. Yeah, I was doing that, like, one-to-oneing with, like, kids with learning difficulties, basically, which I also loved, by the way. And yeah, I would come in with like a black eye and they'd be like, yeah, you can't work here anymore. I'm like, but what do you mean? Like, but I can look after these kids so well. Like, what? And it was so backwards, whereas in Thailand, they were like, oh, cool. You're going to look after my kid really well if you can do Muay Thai. I'm like, yeah, I am. So it's like such a, like, the opposite attitude, which was mad, but there we are. Cool, though.
I know. I heard similar stories over here, but like it's again, I had issues in the fire service, like coming in with a battered face in various ways. I was once put on disciplinary because I went to a hospital to get my eye. I had my eye cut open after someone's toe after a knee bar, and I was put on disciplinary afterwards. I was like, oh well, not doing that anymore. So you're fighting in Thailand. You come back to the UK. What brought you back to the UK?
So my dad was not doing so well, and I was like kind of thinking to come back anyway. And then I ended up having a real bad situation going on in the gym. So by that point, I'd moved to Phuket top team. So basically, I did 2 smoker fights for Tiger, which is basically like the level below amateur. So it's like big gloves, shin pads, bubble wrap, everything. But I got fucked up. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I got fucked up twice. One time I got knocked out, and the second time I got choked out. It was not a good time for me. So basically the instructors or the coaches there were like, yeah, you're never going to win a fight. You're shit. And I was like, yeah, but I'd been training like less than a year, like way less than a year by this point, by the way. So like, yeah, I was shit, but they just had no like belief in like that I would get better, like they were just like, yeah, you're shit. Go like leave. Why do you keep wanting to fight? Like, what's wrong with you? You're clearly shit. I'm like, yeah, but I can get better. And they're like, nah.
Oh well.
Oh well. So I was like, all right, cool. So I literally went to the other end of the road, which is Phuket top team, or was. I don't think it exists anymore there. I believe they've moved, but that's another story. So I went to top team and I went in and I spoke to Boyd, who ran it with his wife, Khan. And so I went, Boyd, I really want to fight. And he's like, yeah, we'll sponsor you. And I was like, why would you sponsor me? And he's like, oh, we're looking for a female to sponsor. There aren't any like that want to fight. And I was like, oh, sweet. Okay, cool. So I literally did like one blog a week for them, like explaining what it was like training at Top Team, basically. And they gave me my training for free, which is phenomenal. And even, you know, I couldn't even believe that they did that. You know, I was so freaking grateful. It's unreal. So, and then I was like fighting, like, you know, the weekends, working, training there, blah, 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 blah. And then I'd been there for ages, like a year and a half. And I don't even know how it started, but basically one of the guys, Australian guy, was a fighter also. And we'd been friends for like the whole time I was there. And he just suddenly decided he did not like me for whatever reason. I still don't actually know the reason, by the way. Just literally just decided one day he hated me. And he was like, came up to me like right in my face and started screaming at me and threatening me. And I was like, just confused, because I was like, I thought we were friends.
Yeah.
And me being me, I'm like, you know, I see the good in everything. Every situation is always like, I always see the good. What's the good part of this, you know? So I'm like, I'm really confused. I'm like, I can't really see like a good thing in this. Like, there's not really like any good in this situation. So anyway, so I spoke to Boyd and he was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. He's like my best fighter, so I'm not going to do anything. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's real shitty, man. So anyway, so then it was that plus my dad was not doing so well. And I was like, the two together, I was like, you know what? I think I'm done. I think I'm done with this whole like situation. And plus like Thailand, like I love Thailand and I loved living there. But by the time that happened, I was like, I was ready to go home, you know? Like I learned what I was going to learn then. But the thing is that it's a very transient place. So you meet so many people, and don't get me wrong, there's still people now that I'm friends with, which is freaking amazing. But it's very difficult to keep like friendships going because everyone's just in and out all the time. You know, there's no stability. Like, even though I was there, no one else was. Yeah. So like building up a friendship, a training partner, relationship, you don't have any of that, you know? So it's like, as much as it's amazing and it's the dream, it's not. Yeah. It depends what your dream is. For me, I needed more stability. Like I needed that point in my life, I needed more stability. So yeah, I think coming home at that point was the correct decision. Although, you know, it's tough. Walking away from Phuket, like, oh man, it's tough. But then I trained in Farnborough with Andy Roberts for a bit. Then I went to Tough from there, so the Ultimate Fighter from there. So that was 2016 by that point. 2015, 2016.
What's the story behind Tough? Like, how did you get onto it? I know, but I'm pulling it out of you.
So when I was living in Thailand, I'd been to the Tough 20 auditions, which was like the first 115 one that they did. And they liked me, but I didn't get in because I was only 2-0. So they were like, look, we like you, but you're not experienced enough. Go away, get some more fights and come back in the next like 115 iteration. So I was like, yeah, fair enough. So I went away, fought literally everywhere and anywhere that would take me. Got a better record. I can't even remember what my record was, but like they were like, we don't even care if it's all MMA, we just want you to have more experience. So I did like K1, I did Muay Thai, I did MMA, I did like Jiu-Jitsu matches, like literally anything. I was like competing all the fucking time. And I went back for 23 auditions, which, so basically I wasn't going to go. And I was like, I saw it come out. I saw them announce it, and I was like, "Oh man, you know what? I don't think I'm there yet. Like, I was like a nice dream, but you know, I don't think I'm ready. I think I need to do more, you know." And then I kept getting it sent to me, like you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it, and I'm like, nah, I don't know. And then by the time like the 8th person that day had sent it to me, I was like, shit, maybe I should do it.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was like, I had no money. Right, I literally had no money. I was working, but it like my money was just evaporating. Like, oh man, like I literally had nothing. I was like in debt. I was like at the bottom of my overdraft. Like, oh fuck. And so I put a GoFundMe. I was like, I'll just see if it works. You know, fucking hate that shit, but I did it because I was like, well, I'm not gonna get there otherwise, right? So
Yeah.
I did the GoFundMe and I got it within 24 hours. The money to get there, the flight, you know. And I was like, holy shit, people actually believe in me.
Yeah.
Like, what? Since when? You know, and that was like the real first time when I was like, oh my God, people want to see me succeed. They don't want to see me fail. Like, that's fucking awesome. And people believe in me enough to put their own money behind me. Like, what the fuck? That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, I guess, like believing in myself a little bit more. Anyway, so then I went to the audition because of these amazing people around me, which I'm never going to forget, by the way. They were like, oh yeah, so we remember you from last time. What have you done since then? And I was like, oh, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And I like reeled off a load of shit I've done. And they were like, oh, fair play. And then they were like, right, get ready to come back. So basically they're like, okay, the audition was like November, December time. And it was like, I think it was the beginning of December. And they were like, right, you've got 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, you go for your fight camp and we'll call you on a Saturday. And if you're successful, you'll be flying out on the Monday. And I was like, right. So you go through camp, whether you don't know who you're fighting, obviously. You don't even know if you are fighting. You don't know anything. You just go through camp and you just do your best. You be on weight. Done. Mm-hmm. So I went through camp. I was like sparring on Christmas morning with my crazy friend Castle, he was amazing in that camp. Like, oh my God, he beat the shit out of me. I think he enjoyed it a lot. And my wrestling coach, just incredible. Like, they were just pushing me and pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. And it was fucking amazing. And I got there. I didn't know anyone. I had my coach's friend, who he hadn't seen for years, but connected me with her. And so she cornered me, who's also called Helen. So, you know, even cooler. And so basically she cornered me, this woman I'd never met before, and her friend who was a black belt, they cornered me, and I won my fight first round armbar. I told you, armbars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people I can armbar. Not you.
One day.
Not bitter and salty about that. Anyway, so they literally you get out of the cage, they hand you a microphone, and you're in the house. Done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it. So that's what happened. Yeah.
How was it being in the house?
Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
Because because I'd been working really, really hard, like work as well as training. You know, like I'd been working literally every hour. I was teaching. I was coaching. I was teaching in schools. I was working in a pub. I was literally like, you know, like every hour was accounted for, and not many of them were sleeping. You know, like I only ate when I was on the move in the car. That was the only time I would eat. I'd literally be like, yeah, just go bum 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 bum. So for me, it was like a holiday. Because all you're doing is training. It's like training twice a day. I was like, what, is that all we have to do?
Yeah.
Like, this is fucking awesome. So I loved it. And the people were lush as well. Like, everyone was really nice. So yeah, I loved it.
You're on team Joanna, weren't you?
I was.
So she's known for her Muay Thai. What's it like? Like training with her? Like, what's the coaching like?
I mean, I really enjoyed training with her. She was honestly amazing to me. I think the boys kind of struggled a little bit with her sometimes because she's very regimented. But you'd expect that, you know?
No, of course, yeah.
But I really liked it. It was like the right kind of training for me, I think. It's like, well, I wish I was there longer, to be honest. I got a couple of injuries, so I didn't get to train like 100%. So that kind of sucked a bit. But Yeah, I loved it. So yeah, I'd go back in a heartbeat.
What was the reality TV show aspect like alongside the fighting? Because obviously you've trained in camps, you trained in Thailand, you trained in the UK and various other gyms, which you don't really have a reality TV aspect. You're not really having someone putting a microphone in front of your mouth and a camera like we are right now. So what was it like being in that kind of environment alongside training?
It didn't really. I think you sort. It seems like really cliche, but you do sort of forget that the cameras are there because they're always just there. So you just sort of you just switch off to them eventually. You had what we call confessional, which is like a room like in the back of the house. Hello. Sorry, dog's just joining in again. A room in the back of the house, which is like where you spoke like on a one-to-one with the person behind the camera, which was a guy called Gary, who's an absolute ledge. Apart from that, to be honest, like I barely even like noticed that they were there half the time. It was just like, you just got on with your life, but just training, recovering.
Yeah.
There's a hot tub, can't go wrong.
Well,
but I do think we were quite boring because it was about 3 weeks in. Because all we're doing is training. But that's what fighters are so boring. And
we really are.
They really are. And then, so it was like about 3 weeks in, and we just got this massive pallet of beer just like appeared. Because they were clearly like, guys, you are so fucking boring. You need to do something entertaining. Drink this. I didn't, but other people did. But yeah, it was, I guess like, the reality of fighters is that fighters are boring.
I think these days they are. I think that's probably one of the reasons they have an issue with the Ultimate Fighter in general, is that over the past 13 years, 14, 15 years, you've gone from the era of like Rampage, Chuck Liddell, like people who are just tough and mental, to actually professional athletes now. Like, like, can you throw really hard punches and just act pretty crazy? Yeah, I can do that. But now it's like actual people who take this seriously, and like they're just boring people. They're just athletes in general.
It's really boring. Yeah.
I think you think of the first kind of tussle you had, like, it was just all mad. Like I remember those early seasons. Like
Oh yeah, they were all mental, but also they were all lads.
Chris Lieben,
and I think when you put women in with it, it really like shakes up the dynamic. But I was, as with all my friendship groups, I was the mother of the group. So I was like making people food, and like I was like making, like I used to like, God, it's really sad. I made all the cameramen and all the people working on the show like cookies and stuff. And then I got bored and I was like making everyone like little friendship bracelets, and I was bored. I was so used to being like, I was really busy all the time, and also massively ADHD. So it was like, my brain was just like, I need to do something. So I was just doing shit like all the time, because I was just like, well, I just need to be active. And you couldn't go anywhere. Yeah. So I was like making shit for people. Like, it was Valentine's Day when we were there. So I made like everyone a separate card. Like, I was just bored. Just like, I want to do stuff. Like, and so but I was like, there's only so much you can do for yourself. So I was like, well, I'll just do stuff for other people instead,
Yeah. Bit behind the curtain, that is. So post Ultimate Fighter, you've now retired from MMA, and you're getting more into your coaching. I mean, we met because you were part of the Artemis BJJ camp in Munich. You've done a couple of Artemis, haven't you, already? How are you finding that transition from being an athlete into a coach?
Has its moments. I'll not lie. I think now I'm fine with it. That has not always been the case. But now it's like, I feel like I much prefer being a coach, because I much prefer seeing other people try and kill each other than having to be killing people myself, I wish I could coach more, to be honest. Obviously I can't, well, not obvious to everyone, but the gym I'm at now, I cannot coach there, unfortunately. Just jiu-jitsu politics, all the fun, which actually real sucks, to be honest, because like I do want to do more coaching, but I also don't have any hours left where I could coach. So I'm like, even if I could coach there, I don't know when I would coach, because all my hours are like, all the normal training hours are all accounted for anyway. So, you know, like it would be kind of tricky to fit it in anyway. But I would like to coach more. I definitely would. I do love it, to be honest.
Well, it's. I mean, that's one of the kind of things that I've realized over the years is that, and it's one of the questions I get asked, like, "Are you still competing? Like, do you want to compete?" I'm like, they're completely different languages. Like, they're completely different mindsets. Of I walk into the gym and I'm more thinking about how I can interpret jiu-jitsu better to try and explain it to people better and make them better. I'm not going in to then be more reflective of my own skill level and my own athleticism. And the jump between the two is quite wide sometimes. Like, it's easy to be an athlete and just say, I do this. But being able to walk in and go, I think you should do this, that'll help you. Complete switch. And, you know, sometimes you can kind of tread the line, but, you know, when you're wearing many hats, you're not doing one effectively. And so I haven't competed now in about 5 years, and I'm kind of happy about that. But especially in jiu-jitsu, unfortunately, I think it's changing a little bit, is that your ability to coach and your respect as a coach is very dependent on, well, what did you do as a fighter? Does it matter? Like, some of the absolute best football managers were shit footballers. And some of the best footballers ended up being shit managers. It's not the same thing. And that transition, I'm feeling older because of the transition. I'm not. It's that I'm stepped away from the athleticism part. I'm getting old and flabby.
I heard about your. I heard about a 34-minute round you did last week that took you a week to recover from.
Oh yeah, I felt rough. Well, again, like Naki, you know, he is treading that line and he is competing. He's younger and he's hungry. And he's got a super fight coming up this weekend. So I was like, right, well, I'll help you get ready. So we did 4 8-minute rounds without a single submission. It was constant jiu-jitsu wrestling. I was like, good fucking Lord. We were tired. I was tired. When he first came to me, he was 130 kilos. He's now he's now 85. And now he's 85. Christ. Yeah, he's lost.
Okay, now. Fair play.
Yeah, 45 kilo. Like, there are people weighing in and walking around at that weight. And he's a PT, and he's fast, and he's got that strength still from being 130.
I'll be honest with you. When I was 21, I was 85 kilos.
Really?
I am now 59.
Fucking hell. I think I was big. This is one thing. I was actually wildly overweight when I was 21, before I started jiu-jitsu. You should see some of the old photos. I look crazy. Then when I used to compete, I used to fight at 73. I used to
and what
cut
are you
down
now?
really far. About 93.
93?
Yeah.
Look at it, man.
Thanks. It's not size, it's girth.
It's just muscle, isn't it?
No, not anymore. It used to be.
I'm trying to be nice, man. Would you take a compliment?
I'm a coach now. It's allowed. I'm allowed to be.
Well, I don't know. This is another talking point that maybe you could discuss on a normal show. I don't know if we can discuss it if you want, but
I'd love to.
Coaches, fat coaches. How do we feel about
that? I think. Oh, actually, that's part of the issue. I think is that you look at some coaches and you're like, oh, they can't be athletes. And you're like, again, it's your ability to interpret. Like, that's like saying, like, that's like looking at Alex Ferguson when he was in charge of Manchester United. Like, oh, you're old. You're not that fast anymore. Like, yeah, but does it matter? Like, it's up here that matters, and my ability to explain what I'm doing. Like, don't you know? Everyone slows down and gets old at some point, but I gained wisdom in those years. Just because I can't move as quick as I was, 20 years ago, doesn't mean I'm not smart at this. But I think it's that, again, that issue that we're tying so much about in martial arts, especially every other sport. Like, you look at some of the coaches in NFL, and you look at that, how huge they are with those big headphones on, and you think, they can't play football. They're terrible footballers. You think, yeah, but they're in charge of the most lucrative teams in the world. They're not there by accident. They are geniuses at their game. In martial arts, no, you have to be a fighter to be a coach. No, just be a smart person and understand other people.
I do agree in one level, but I do think that there's coaches I've seen, not specific now, like there's no one specific in my head, but it's just over the years that I've seen. Generic. Big, fat coaches that barely have, like, they know how technically they can hold pads. I'm talking about MMA coaches here. Technically, they can hold pads beautifully. Yeah. But they can't keep up with their fighters hitting. Yeah. And I think that's there becomes a point where you have to say, right, if you want to be a decent, I'm talking pad holder, like active coach, not a theoretical coach. I'm talking about an active pad holding, wrestling, whatever coach. There comes a point where you have to go, my weight is starting to slow me down as a coach or as a pad holder or as not an athlete, but one of the building blocks to my athlete. And then it gets to a point where it's like, well, actually, your weight is now holding you back as a coach. So to me, that's where the limit is. It's like, I don't mind if people are a bit slower, a bit older. That's fine, not a problem. They're wise, of course. But when the weight or the size starts slowing them down and starts directly impacting their ability as a coach or as a pad holder, that's when I start having a problem with it, I think.
But then you can look at someone like Danaher when he was essentially crippled and he was on that walking stick. He wouldn't, he's not going to be able to roll with anyone. Yeah, he's still considered one. Exactly, but he's still considered one of the best coaches walking around. Ish.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, which again, that's you can if you can't hold the pads or if you can't roll, you stick someone else, another athlete in its place, and you critique and you help from the sidelines. Again, I think it's one of those things about martial arts. We expect a lot of athleticism from our coaches. We kind of laugh at traditional martial arts. Sometimes you see them all their giant pot bellies sticking out, and you think, oh, maybe they don't know what they're doing. Which we kind of laugh at that because we're from the martial arts, combat sports background. And yeah, I think we open up this kind of worm, it's going to be here forever. But you look at the whole idea of stripes on black belts. It's essentially as an artificial way of keeping black belts relevant. It's because when you get your black belt, you're normally a killer. But then after that, it's like when you stop being a killer because you're getting older. It's like, well, how do you keep you relevant? Well, we put stripes on it. It's like a tree. I've got more rings around me. Pretty sure how I'm an older tree. Respect me more. And just dumb. It's so dumb.
That's the dream. But I'm pretty sure that they do everything with the force coming out of the palm of their hand. Pretty sure that's how it works.
At that point, I think it's around about strike number 3. You get that ability. I'm not there yet. I'll let you know when I get there.
Right. I'll be really excited to feel the force out of the palm of your hand when you do get there. That sounds wrong, but you know what
I'm saying. Okay. Pardon? I'm going to have to do a lot of editing of this podcast with all the technical issues, but that's staying in. Like, I'm going to come to this part and be like, you know what? Fuck her. She can leave. She's going to live with that one on the airwaves. Like, Spotify's going to keep this forever. You did this to yourself.
Thanks, mate.
Sorry.
Oh, lovely. Can't wait.
Fair enough.
Can't wait, mate. I'm not going to listen back. I'm not going to lie to you. I cannot listen to my own voice. So I will never have to hear myself say that.
I've never listened to my own podcast back. Like, I can't stand it.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It'd be weird if you did though. It'd be more weird if you were like, oh yeah, man, I know what I'm talking about.
Like some sort of Alzheimer's. It's like, I like this guy.
I've never known what I'm talking about. What the fuck is your... Shut the fuck up. Yeah. What are we talking about before I rudely interrupted us?
Coachings. And whether martial arts coaches, I know it went off on such a tangent. Martial arts coaching,
standard. No, I can see. I think jiu-jitsu is different. Like if you've got, so for example, like if you've got two people in front of you that you can analyze and move forward, that is very different to holding pads.
Yeah.
I think if you can sit, even striking, like you can coach from the sideline and watch two people sparring and improve them both. But when I'm talking about physically holding pads and physically wrestling with people or grappling or whatever, that it's like if you're trying to improve someone by using a physical aspect of your body, you have to be physically prepared to do that and not have that part holding you back. The theoretical side, you can do that. You can do that from a wheelchair. That's not a problem. That's easily done. Once you know it, unless dementia kicks in, then maybe not. But
science way.
This side of the dementia, we're good to go. That's all I'm saying.
And it's one of the feelings I'm getting now is of being at black belt now for 5 years. Is that now there's kids coming through in the class like early mid-20s and they're powerful people and you're like they look at the belt and they just want to attack you. And you think I'm not like I was 10 years ago. Don't be so mean.
And I don't have a target on my back anymore. Leave me alone.
Exactly. I leave my belt in my bag. Like it's not here. Like you don't have to attack me for it. I do. I'm trying to help you.
Like going into I know like you guys don't really wear belts in your gym, but like I do love going into most gyms still wear belts, including the gym I'm at. You must wear your belt if you're in a gi class. But I love visiting a class where nobody knows me, where we're all in no gi. And because realistically, the Ultimate Fighter is old news now for me. It's most people at the time people knew me, but now no one's. This all the new guys come through. It's fine. I can be like inconspicuous. No one knows me, and I prefer that. I did not have that then. I'd be like, oh, you're from the Ultimate Fighter. I'm like, no, fucking don't tell everyone, man. Like I'm trying to train. Anyway, so now I can go into a gym in no-gi and just be like free. I sound so stupid, but it's like the minute you put a brown belt on, people have expectations of you, or a black belt, whatever. Like obviously I'm not at that point yet, but like I walk into a gym as a brown belt and they have these expectations of me, and I'm like I feel like I might disappoint you, but also that's kind of the reason I enjoy no-gi is because there's no belt, and you can just walk into a gym and have zero expectations and just train, which is ultimately what we want, right? You just want to train.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do find that the expectation of the belt is like it takes away some of the fun.
Oh,
for me anyway.
I went to a Gracie Barra a couple of years ago, down south, and I just wanted to go and train. I seen a buddy down there, down south. And as I went in, I sat down, and the guy's like, "Oh, welcome. You've done BJJ before? Yeah, I've done some. I've done a fair bit, to be fair." He's just chatting to me, and I get my stuff out, get my black belt. I goes, "Oh, Professor, I didn't realize. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have." I'm like, "Bro, we were just talking. Why have you suddenly started freaking out?"
Things. Yeah.
Right? We were having a great chat. It's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I'm sorry, Professor." I'm like, "Don't call me that, for fuck's sake."
Yeah.
I'm just coming in for like, see my mate and just have a bit of a roll around. Like, why do we have to make it weird?
Yeah. Exactly. No, I 100% agree. It does my head. Well, like when people like they like find out after that I was an MMA fighter or something, and then they treat me differently, and I'm like, "Yo, we were friends. Why? Why have you just changed?" Like that doesn't mean shit.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like It's just
And
I'm still the same person. Like, it's fucking stop being weird, man.
yeah,
I don't know. It's like when people put you on a pedestal or whatever, or off a pedestal. I don't know. Either way, it's not
on
ideal.
or off, things change.
On or off. Just be equal, isn't it? Well, no, but you know what I mean. Like, it's either up here or down. Well, just fucking be normal. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the hierarchy and all those things, and the competitiveness of behind combat sports, it makes people too weird sometimes. Like the belt system in general, when we are looking at people and going, oh, you're this belt and you're that belt, and we ignore them on that front, like, oh, you're lower than me or you're higher than me. Does it fucking matter? Like, just be friends people, and just train. Oh,
yeah. Like the only reason I appreciate the belt system is when there's, I'm going to say this in the nicest possible way. Every time I roll with a big white belt, and by big, bear in mind, I'm a midget, so I mean anyone over like 70, 75 kilos as a white belt, I get injured.
Yeah.
So safety is more important than hierarchy, but the belt level does mean that it's easier for me to tell who I'm at risk of. Because if there's like an 80 kilo white belt or an 80 kilo black belt, despite the fact that I'm going to get fucked up by the black belt, I'm not going to get injured. I'd much rather get fucked up than get injured.
But I think there's also maybe a level of, like, there's self-control. Like, you'll be able to hold your body weight in situations. But I think there's also an aspect of, the white belt can look at you and go, I'm going to beat up a brown belt. And so they're more likely to be excessively violent. Whilst a black belt's going to be like, I don't give a shit. That's why I play. Just because they've got nothing else to prove. It's... fuck this sport sometimes.
Well, like, I guess the more experience you get in jiu-jitsu, the more you realize it doesn't matter and who gives a shit, and no one actually, apart from you.
No.
Well, yourself. Like it's.
I thought you meant me. I was like, I thought you'd be like quite confrontational. Like, no one gives a shit apart from you, podcaster. Okay. That was very direct.
Okay, let's rephrase that. No one gives a shit apart from yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Apart from you, you could just clip that up.
I get to make like Instagram clips of all this, and I'm gonna have so much fun. Just like Helen Harper, the angriest person in jiu-jitsu.
I've said a lot of stupid shit.
Sorry.
That's going to be very easy to clip up. Like,
I'm going to have so much fun.
Let's have a compilation of all the stupid shit Helen said.
Something about palming?
The whole thing, right. But yeah, so what I meant was the only person that cares is the person that is rolling.
Yeah.
So, like, no one else, like, it's like when I've thought a lot about this because I went for about a year and a bit, almost a year and a half, where I was competing quite a lot, but I didn't win a single fight. And I was like, and it was when I just got my brown belt. And from my brown belt to, recently actually, like, last summer. So it was about a year. It was about a year. Where I didn't win a single match. And I was like, just getting like, what the fuck have I even got this brown belt for? And I was like crying my eyes out to Chris, my coach, not you. Like, well, I cried to you too, but you weren't there. I was like, Chris, you need to take this belt back. Like, I can't have this belt. It's like, I can't have a brown belt. Like, I'm not a brown belt. Like, I'm a purple belt. Please, can I have my purple belt back? And he's like, nope. And I'm like, please, like, you don't understand. I'm shit. Like, I can't compete as a brown belt. Like, I don't deserve this belt. Like, oh my God, it was going on and on and on. And he was probably like, wanted to slap me, but somehow he didn't. I would not have blamed him though. But, it was like, then I kind of changed it and I was like, right, if I wasn't me and I was someone else and someone else was having this problem, would I think any less of them? No, of course not. right? I would just think, oh man, they just had some tough breaks, you know, some tough matches, and you know, like most of the matches I lost were like either by like 2 points or decision, or was like really narrow. They weren't like, I wasn't getting obliterated. It was like I was just losing by like one sweep or one pass, or you know, like it wasn't crazy, or it wasn't like I was losing 20-0 or something like that, or like getting subbed in every match, you know. So I was like, well, if I was looking at someone else that was having the same problem, would I think any less of them? Well, no, of course not. So maybe I just need to get over myself. And then I started winning. So maybe that's the lesson for today.
Yeah.
Get over
that's
yourself.
the theme of this podcast. Get over yourself.
Get over yourself. Podcaster. Yeah, pretty much.
I think we could probably do this. I think we could do a whole round 3 of this and just go even deeper into competition mindsets, because I'm really interested actually to hear like because especially considering you've gone everywhere and fought so much, I'd be interested to hear how you got over that. So how you fixed for a round 2 of Villain Cast?
Yeah, of course. You know where I am. At the end of a dodgy Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah. Well, since you moved, it's been fine. We've been going for ages. It makes.
Well, that's true. I am literally, the router is about 30 centimeters away from me.
That was the problem then. That was the problem. You were too far away.
I was about 2 meters away from it before, so that's clearly where I was going wrong.
So weirdly enough, like just a little side thing. I was just in Ireland, and I was staying at this dude's house. They kindly put me up, and he said, "Oh, my Wi-Fi is shit." And he's got like the 2.4 gigahertz and the 5 gigahertz, and it's 2.4. I was barely getting like half a megabyte down. It's like, oh yeah, your internet's shit. But I went to his 5 gigahertz, and I was getting like 200. And I was like, you're right, your Wi-Fi is really good. And he was like, no, it isn't. I was like, showed him. He was like, I've been here for like 5 years. Like, I just thought I haven't been able to watch Netflix in 5 years. I was like,
oh my God.
I was like, yeah, just connect to this and just like move your Wi-Fi box. He was like,
oh my God.
Motherfucker. Oh, it was great.
That is insane.
It broke his brains.
Now we know. Yeah, I bet you did.
Fuck Wi-Fi. Thank you for your time. Thank you for agreeing to come onto this again and talk about the same stuff again, and
of course, man.
Have such a humorous conversation. I've loved this. This has been hilarious, and I can't wait. I can't wait to put this up online and make so many clips out of it. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the clips. I'll share them with gritted teeth.
Or I'll tag you in them, like, collaborator. She likes this.
I'll be like, oh, fuck
off. Sorry.
It's fine. Gotta do it. It's gotta be done. Thank you. Of course.
I'll try and make the visit down after America, and we'll have a roll around.
Yeah, man. You're welcome.
And you can introduce me to Chris and Co.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
I'll have a great time.
It's on.
Thank you for your time, Helen Harper. This has been Villain Cast.
Thank you.